Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This video is about CA Final Self-Paced Online Module, Set B Costing, Chapter number 6, Strategic Revenue Management. We will be covering all the theory portion of this chapter in this single video. We will be solving all the theory questions also in this video itself, and then we can start the chapter. Before going into this chapter, one reminder is that please subscribe to this channel if you found this video useful, and like this video, share this to your friends also. It may be useful for them also. And then enable the all notifications button near the subscribe button so that you will be getting the notification of all the further videos that we will be uploading. The first division we are going to see is pricing division. Mostly all the topics in this chapter will be related to pricing division only. Now first we are going to see about pricing division. Pricing division is the most important decision to be taken in a company. This will be deciding the profit which you are going to earn. That will be decided by the selling price only. This we can decide it by cost plus margin method also we can decide it. Or else we will have an established price in the market that we will be following to achieve the organization's goal. What is the goal of the organization? To maximize the wealth of the shareholder. So that's all the introduction for pricing decisions. Now what are the factors influencing pricing decisions? There are two intro factors. One is the internal factors, another thing is the external factors. Internal factors meaning that we have to consider the image of our brand. What should be the corporate image of our company in the minds of the people and the other stakeholders. Price elasticity of demand. How much competition we have in the industry. Stage in product life cycle. And then external factors coming to bargaining power of buyers, general state of the economy, macroeconomic conditions, government regulations and all we have to follow, and then only we have to create the price. The next thing is product pricing theory and principles. In pricing theory, first we have the profit maximization model. This we have already covered in detail in Practical Films video. You can refer to that for detailed coverage. Here we will be producing and selling only up to the level where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. This will be the level at which you will have the maximum profit. The price equation we have, the slope of demand curve we have, and the formula, each of the terms we have explained here. This we have already covered in detail in Practical Films video, so we are skipping it now. Now the next thing is pricing into different market structures. We have different kind of markets like perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly, oligopoly. Like that we have a lot of markets. In each of the markets, what is the price we have to decide? In perfect competition, what are the characteristics of that market of that? We will have a large number of sellers, large number of buyers will also be there. Perfect information. Each and every buyer knows about the price going on in the market, and then they will know the each and every information related to the purchase. We cannot deceive the customer. We cannot make a fool of the customer. There will be free entry and exit. Anyone can enter the market. Anyone can exit the market. There are no entry or exit barriers. And we all sell a homogeneous product, meaning that all the suppliers have the same product, same identical product. So there is no problem in substituting for the customers. They will have a lot of options to choose from. And then the sellers will be price takers. Price takers, which means that they will have no control over the price. They have to follow the established price in the market. That price will be decided by the supply and demand. They will create the price based on the supply and the demand curve. This intersection will be the equilibrium price, which will be followed by all the sellers. No single seller can control the price. No single buyer can control the price. You will just follow the price, which is already in the market. You will produce till marginal cost equals price. Till that level, you will be producing. The next condition is that monopoly. In this, there will be homogeneous product. No close substitute will be there. Only one supplier will be there. Many buyers will be there. So the supplier will have more power here. The seller will be the price setter. He will be the one deciding the price. He will fix the price based on price elasticity of demand. Which is the price giving the maximum profit. That will be the price which he will be fitting. So that's all about the monopoly. In perfect competition, there will be already a price. You can just follow that. In monopoly, you will set it as per the maximum profit. When you come to monopolistic competition, there will be a large number of firms. There will be large number of sellers. Similar but not identical products. The products will be similar but not identical. Not the same. Excess profits attract new competition. Here there will be excess profit. Attracted by that, new competition will come over the long term period. Then there will be close substitutes. The products will be close substitutes. If you don't want the product of one supplier, you can switch to another. There will be close substitutability. In the long run, the profit will diminish because we have new entrants coming over. So we will be using the profit maximization model here. We will be producing till MR equals MC. This is done because of price elasticity of demand. Now, the next concept is oligopoly. Here we will have homogeneous or identical products. Only few firms will be there. Oligopoly, we will have only few sellers. And then interdependence on the rival firms. All the firms will be sellers will be interdependent. If one firm does an action, he increases the price or increases the quality, all the other firms will do reaction also. They will also react by reducing the price. Like that, they will do counter action. So we have to analyze the competitor behavior also before deciding any price. And in this oligopoly, we will not fight using the price. We will fight using other non-pricing strategies. If we fight using price, at the end only all the firms will have loss only because by fighting, all the firms will reduce the price to a low level, and then this will not give a profit to any particular firm. All the firms will face downfall in this strategy. Firms will consider both the demand and then the reaction of other firms when preparing the price of the product. Deciding the price of the product. Now, what is the pricing strategy of oligopolistic firms? Then what is the basis based on which they will set the price? There are three things. One is predatory pricing. Predatory pricing means they are keeping the price artificially low, meaning that they will keep it below the production cost. They will incur loss, but still they will keep it in that manner, so that it will help to drive the competitors out of the market. The competitors will not be able to match that price, and then they will eventually go out of the market. This is the meaning of predatory pricing. We will be acting like a predator here. And then limit pricing. Limit pricing meaning entry forestalling price. We will discourage new entrants from entering into the market. We will set the price at a low limit. The new entrant, he will not be able to match that price and get profits. Then they will raise price together. All the firms, all the oligopoly firms, they will raise the price together. So it will gain benefit for all the firms. The next thing is cost to plus pricing. They can follow two types of cost to plus pricing. One is normal cost to plus pricing, and the thing is contribution based pricing. This is related to the marginal costing concept. When you are coming to the normal cost based pricing, what will happen is that you will take the total cost, fixed cost along with the variable cost. You will add the profit margin. You will get the price. In contribution based pricing, you will only take the variable cost. In that, you will decide how much contribution we want. That you will add it to there, and you will get the selling price. You will decide the contribution level. Here, you will decide the profit margin. From this contribution only, you will recover both fixed cost and then the profit. Non-price strategies. The oligopolists, as we already saw, they will be following non-price strategies maximum. Now, what are the non-price strategies, they will improve the quality and the after sales service. They will not touch the price of the product. They will fight with the quality. They will use product differentiation strategy and all. They will create uniqueness to their product. Advertising and sponsorship event, aggressive promotion will be done, and then large supermarkets they will use them and do promotion. Loyalty schemes and all they will be introduced. By doing this, they will create a non-price strategy. Now, the next topic is principles of product pricing. What are the principles we have to use when creating the pricing? We have to select the combination of price and output, which will give maximum profit to us. What is the level at which we will get the maximum profit? That we have to focus in the market. Important points to be kept in mind. When we are doing price customization, we have to do it based on four things: product line, based on customer behavior, demographics, and then time differential. Price customization means we are making the price unique for a customer. We are determining the price based on the specific characteristics of a customer. We can do it based on the product line. For example, 32GB smartphone will be priced higher than the 16GB smartphone. That is a common sense. That is based on the product line. When you are seeing about customer past behavior, customer with a good payment record, we will give more discount to him. Like that, we can do it. Then based on demographics, for senior citizens and all, the railway fees they will be giving concession and all. That will be based on the population characteristics, the age, gender, everything will be the base for setting the price. When you are coming about the time differential, discount may be given for when you are taking a subscription for a long period, you will be given discount. When you are taking for a short period, you will be charged more. That is the thing for price customization strategy. Now the next thing is price sensitivity. Price sensitivity means if the price sensitivity is high, what will be meaning that customer will give importance to the price. Meaning that if any competitor gives the product at a lower price, the customer will shift it to that competitor. The customer will think the most important factor for the customer is price. When you are seeing low price sensitivity, the customer will not care about the price. Whatever the price, the customer will purchase it. That is the meaning of low price sensitivity. Here, what are the factors below low price sensitivity? If the product has a unique value, for example, iPhone, it has a unique value. The people think that it has a unique value, so that they are buying it, even though it is expensive. So it has a low price sensitivity. Customers not caring about price. Difficult comparison effect. When you have two or more products to you and your competitors, when comparing these two, the customer could not compare and come to a reasonable conclusion. He is having difficulty in comparing these two products. Then also he will not care about the price because he is not able to compare the products itself. Then how he will compare the prices? Now the next thing is total expenditure effect. In this, what is the logic is that if the whatever may be your income, but you will not care about the price of the matchbox and all. If the price of the product is a very low percentage of your total income, you will not care about the price of the product. That is the meaning of total expenditure effect. When you come to shared cost effect, for example, you are renting a room. The rent of the room is 5,000 rupees. Now 5 people are staying in it, including you. Now your share will be coming to 1,000 rupees. The cost of your share, it will be coming to 1,000 rupees. You have to pay 1,000 per month. But when the household is increasing the new rent to be to 6,000 rupees, what will be your new share? Your new share will become 1,200. You will not care that much about the price increase because it is just a small portion. If you are staying in that room you are only staying in that room, there's no sharing, then you will be paying the entire 1,000 by yourself. Then you will be feeling a higher impact in the price. So when you are sharing the cost, you will not care that much about the price. That is the logic of shared cost effect. And then when you are seeing about sunk investment effect, for example, you are buying a new bike. For that new bike, you spent about 1 lakh rupees. And then for protecting that bike from dust and all, you are buying a bike cover. The bike cover is costing about 1,000 rupees. You will not think that much about the price of the bike cover because you already bought a bike which is costing 1 lakh. You already made that much investment. So you will not care that much about the price of the cover. That is the meaning of sunk investment effect. The investment 1 lakh you made, it is already sunk. You cannot change that price. So you will not think about the price of the ancillary products. The next thing is price quality effect. So the next thing is price quality effect. The price quality effect says that if the customers think that the product is of high quality, they will not care that much about the price. They will think that high quality product requires high price. So they will think a rationality for that and they will not care about the price. The next thing is inventory effect. Inventory effect meaning that if you buy a product which is of perishable nature, you will not care that much about the price. If you are buying a long durable product, you will think about the price. Perishable product, there will be low price sensitivity. The next thing is end benefit effect. For example, you are a manufacturer. You are purchasing raw material for your finished goods. The total cost of the finished goods comes out to be 10,000 rupees. But one particular material you are buying it for 50 rupees and then adding it in the finished goods. Now you will not care that much about the 50 rupees that you are paying because the total cost of the finished goods is coming to be 10,000. So you will not care that much about the 50 rupees material. The only case where you will have high price sensitivity is that substitute awareness effect. If the customer knows what are the substitutes and they are perfectly substitutable, he will have high power and he will easily switch to the other product, other substitute when he thinks that the price is high. When he thinks that the product is not worth the price, he will change the supplier. He will move to the next product. Then you will be using a method to control the price sensitivity, to measure the price sensitivity. How much we have price sensitivity, whether it is high or low, that we have to find out. For that we will do controlled experimentation method, meaning that we will do experimental sales. We will do sales with a high price. How much people are buying, we will take a note of it. And then we will reduce the price. After that, how much people are buying, we will take a separate note. We will be doing this in two different markets so that it will not be obvious to the customers who are seeing it. Now, we will be doing this experiment to find out the price sensitivity. The next thing is pricing for new products. And when you are creating a new product, what is the problem? There is a demand uncertainty, meaning that you will not know how many people will buy. This you can solve it by experimental sales. Experimental sales mean that same thing. You will be doing experimental sales. You will be selling it for an experimental purpose, and then how many customers are buying it at a price of 50 rupees? How many customers are buying it when you are increasing the price to 80 rupees? Like that, you will find out the right price for the new product. And then one more thing is that when you are selecting the highest price, it will not give the maximum profit. So it is also one more established truth. How if you can see that, I will show an illustration of the study material itself. Here we can see study material, test analyze question number 11 in the same 6th chapter. Here we can see that profit at different demand and price levels. Here we have different alternatives at a price of Here you can see at a price of 44, we can sell 1,50,000 units. At a price of 60, we can sell 1,08,000 units. This units is decreasing. So you cannot say that for guarantee that highest price will give highest profit. Here we can see that the highest price is the last option. Now whether we are getting high profit at the last option, that we can see now. Here if you are seeing at the last option, what is the profit you are getting? Last option 1,08,000 sales, you are getting a profit of 14,24,000. But the last before option, you are getting a profit of 14,72,000. You are getting higher profit, but at a lower price. The highest price is not achieved, but still you are achieving the highest profit. That is the meaning there. So you can get maximum profit even at a low price, but it will be difficult to increase the price later. If you keep the price low at beginning for the new product, it will be difficult to increase the price later. The customer will not accept the new price, high price. Next thing is we have three types of product in the market. For a new product, if you are launching, we have to decide the price based on the type of the product. The types are revolutionary product, evolutionary product, and me too product. Revolutionary product meaning that it will be new to the market. It will be replacing the existing method. It will be an innovative product. It will be a unique product. It will be having product differentiation. It will be sold at a premium price. Why? Because innovation plus new technology. That is a revolutionary product. When we are saying about evolutionary product, it is an existing product only, but it will have extra features. It will be priced as per cost benefit analysis, competitor how much price they are giving, demand, everything will consider when deciding the price of an evolutionary product. When you are seeing a Me Too product, it is also similar to the revolutionary or evolutionary. They will use similar production process and technology. This will be prepared after the original product has been released. It is so you can take it as an imitation also. They are the market followers. Here the price will be decided by competitive forces, supply and demand forces. They will be the price takers. They will accept the established price. The next thing is price skimming. When you are launching a new product, you will keep a high price at the beginning. Why? Because you are spending high promotional expenditure in the earlier years of the product. So proportionately, you will keep high price in the beginning. And then one more logic for that is that demand will be inelastic in the start. It will be a new product. You will be doing high promotion. Everyone will have an expectation for the product, and then they will not care that much about the price in the beginning because they are eager to see what is the product. So demand will be inelastic to the price. Consumer will not care about the price at the beginning, and then you will be able to skim the cream of the market. At the beginning, many buyers will be eager to buy the product even at a premium price because it will have a unique value and that much marketing you are doing, so that the customers, buyers who are well-to-do, who are wealthy, they will be paying high price in the beginning itself. You will be harvesting all those high price and turning it into profits, and then you will recover the cost of production before the actual demand of the product is established in the market. When you keep a high price, you will get maximum profit in the beginning stage itself, so that you can reduce the price later and then capture the low price segment also. Skim the cream. You will recover the revenue from the buyers who are ready to pay the high price to buy the product at the beginning of the purchase itself, at the beginning of the launch itself. This is the meaning of price skimming, high price at the initial years. The next thing is penetration pricing. In penetration pricing, when you are launching a new product, you will fix a low price. It will attract the customer in mass market. It is used for long-term survival and profitability. In a long term, when you are keeping a low price, many people will buy it. You will do proper research also before using the strategy, because if you want to expand in future, you have to consider that also when deciding the price. You can popularize the product using a low-cost point itself, and then when the demand is increasing because of population or other factors and all, you can increase the price later, and then you can use it for new products. It will discourage the new entrants from entering into the market. This will be the price penetration pricing strategy. You can use this for penetrating into the market. You can use this for bringing a product into the market for the first time. When you are out of the market and you are currently trying to bring a new product, you can use the strategy. You can penetrate into the market and claim a customer segment. Penetration pricing will be used when customer will be giving importance to the price factor. Price is important for the customer, and then you will be able to achieve economics of scale, meaning that when you are producing at a large scale, the price per unit will be coming to a low level. That is the meaning of economics of scale. And then threat of competition. When you have threat of competition also, you can keep the price low as an entry barrier. The next thing is pricing of finished goods which are existing already existing product line. How to keep the price? You can use cost-based pricing method. Cost plus profit will be the logic. You can also include in depreciation, so that you will have profit for purchasing new machinery at the end of the life of existing machinery. For after replacement, you will have the profits. And then the limitation of cost-based model is that you will not be able to allocate the overhead. In which basis you will allocate it? Arbitrary basis, like direct labor hours, or based on the number of units. That is one problem in allocation of overheads, fixed overheads. For avoiding this complication, you are taking the variable cost. In this also we have two things. One is markup pricing, cost plus markup. Another thing is target rate of return. How much amount you invested in that project, and then how much return you want. That return you are distributing it to the number of units sold. That will give the target rate of return method pricing. In markup pricing, you will know the cost data accurately. You will you do not know the demand, how much demand will be there, that you don't know. So that you are adding a standard markup. In target rate of return, you know how much cost also, you know how much demand also. Based on that, you are expecting the return and then setting the price. The next thing is cost-based pricing is useful in less competitive and customer-oriented market. When you are not having that much competition, you can use this pricing model. The next type of model is competition-based pricing model. One thing is, then in this the first type is going rate pricing. You will keep the price at the average price level charged in the industry. It will give a fair return, and then it will not disrupt the market. It will maintain the stability of the market. It is used in oil, gas, fertilizer industry and all. Going rate pricing is used. Average price level of the industry is used. It will be a homogeneous product. Oil, gas and all, you cannot do any differentiation. Cost control will be required. You have to keep the cost as per the pricing level. It is also used in pure oligopoly. When you have a pure oligopoly, all the firms will know the average price level going in the market. They will not fight through price. They will use non-price strategies and then keep a stable price all time. The next thing is sealed bid pricing. Sealed bid pricing, it will be a competitive bidding based pricing. You will know bidding right. Each person will give a quotation, the price which the person is willing to pay. Then the supplier will give the contract to the person who is quoting the least price. For example, there will be a construction contract. In government and all, there will be giving construction contract. For that construction contract, the government will select the company which is giving the lowest quotation. So, because the government wants to complete the contract at a low price itself. Low cost is the economy principle. Meaning of economic principle is that the government wants to complete the work at a low price itself. So, for defense contract work and all, this sealed bid will be used. Every company will be bidding, and then the contract will be given to the company who's giving the lowest offer price. All the suppliers should be giving offer price. Our company will decide the offer price. How our company will decide? It will based on the expectation about competitor's offer price. What will be the price given by the competitor? That we will expect, and as per that we will decide our price. We can set a higher price. What is the problem in that? Is that the contract will not be given to us. Contract will be given only to the lowest quoting company. The price will not be set below the marginal cost. Marginal cost is the amount that must be recovered. And when you are keeping it the marginal cost level, that is okay. When you are giving the price as more than marginal cost, it will give you profit, but it will reduce the chance of getting the contract because the government will be giving the contract to the one who is giving the lowest price quotation. The next thing is psychological pricing model. For example, in mobile phones for each and every product, instead of round figure, they will keep the this kind of absurd figures, 59,999. This will be an absurd figure. Why they are keeping it is that when you are seeing this figure, our mind will think that psychologically, it will think that it is in the 50,000 range. But actually, the price is 60,000 less 1 rupees. That 1 rupees is not a significant value. We will think that it is in the 50,000 range. So it will affect us psychologically and will attract us to buy it. The next thing is value-based pricing model. We will find out the value perceived by the customer. What is the logic of that? We will find out what is the value of the product in the mind of the customer. What is the customer's perception of the value? What is the worth of the product in the mindset of the customer? As for that, we will fix our price. Here, if you see, the first method is true economic value. Here, we will add the cost of next best alternative along with the value of performance differential. Cost of next best alternative is that our competitor will have a comparable product. That product cost you have to keep, and then you have to add the value of performance differential. If our product is performing in an exceptional manner, is performing well when against the competitor product, you can add a positive amount. But when our product is inferior to the competitor's product, you should subtract to some deduction. So you will get the true economic value of our product. This will be based on the perception of value of the customer. The focus is what is the value we are delivering to the customer from the point of view of the customer. We will not care about whether the customer will recognize the value or not. And all, no, not considered. The next thing is perceived value. What is the perceived value? What is the amount that the customer is ready to pay? That is the meaning of perceived value. We will be pricing based on the perceived value. Here, if you see, the cost of sales is the cost incurred to manufacture the product. Price is the price set by the company. True economic value will be the value which we found out in the first method. Perceived value meaning that what is the value decided by the customer? What is the value the product is giving to customer? That will be decided in some kind in the mind of the customer. That is the meaning of perceived value. What is the price the customer is ready to pay? This is the price that he actually pays. So when the customer is seeing perceived value, the worth will be the customer will be ready to pay 1,000 rupees, but the actual price will be 700 rupees. This 300 rupees will be profit for the customer in the mind of the customer, and then the actual cost of production will be 450. 250 rupees will be the profit for the company. That is the thing we have to analyze from this chart. This is similar to consumer surplus. What is the price the customer is ready to pay, less the price that the customer actually pays. So that is the benefit to customer that we are giving. Now the next method is that. That's all about the models for pricing. Now we are going to see what is the framework to create value for the customer. First step is product development. We have to create a product that will satisfy the needs of the customer, and then we have to do promotion program. How that product is helping the customer, that we have to tell it, and then we have to use the right distribution channel to reach the customer. You have to use a proper pricing strategy also to attract the customer. This and all you have to do. This is the process for creating the value to the customer. And then pricing of services. When we are coming to services, we have 4 types of services. First one, people processing service. Persons are involved. For example, haircut and all, we cannot do without having a person. Physical customer also should be there. And then product or possession processing. Services will be related to product. Product is necessary. Customer need not be there physically. For example, washerman, packers and movers. They will do the work using the product only. The main thing is product. Mental stimulus processing services. Here, the customer will be given a mental satisfaction or a mental experience. And this will be based on the mental state of the customer. For example, watching a match at a stadium, it is based on the experience and the mental satisfaction the customer is getting. And the information processing services. Here, you will have intangible products. The products will not be in your hand. Information will be the product. Example, consultancy and all. You are not selling any manufactured product. You are selling information. The next thing is when the services are very customized as per the customer, it will have a distinct price structure. You will price it as per the needs of the customer and the actual situation. And when the participation of customer is required, when the customer should be there in the spot when you are performing the service, you should also consider the intangible cost borne by the customer. What are the opportunity cost of the customer and all? They have to spend the time here. That also you have to consider. Services that are important to the public, example healthcare, it will be the price for that will be regulated by the government. The next thing is some services pricing. It should be determined in a collective manner. Trade association or other bodies for that particular profession, they will determine the price. Now we are going to see about the pricing of emerging business models. Now, the first business model is hyper-disruptive business model. Here, it will depend upon the value of the innovation and then time and resources required to imitate the disruptive innovation. If the competitors want to do the same innovation, how much time it will take, how much amount they have to spend, that we have to see in case of hyper-disruptive business model. How much big the innovation is, that will be the main thing here. Another thing is models relevant to sustainability. We will focus on environment, economic and social factors here. For example, luxury goods will be priced higher. Like that, you can take reasonable assumptions. Price of essential commodities like medicals, like grocery items for essential for survival, that should be regulated. The next thing is for emerging national market, we will be doing based on the value for money principles. In India and all, the people will be thinking whether the product is worth or not, whether it is giving us that much value or not, that we will think. So cost-effective solution is required in emerging national markets. The next thing is sensitivity analysis. We have to create a balance between, we have to create a low price to attract the customers. At the low price, we should maintain the profit also. We have to balance between profit and the low selling price. Also, you should consider the marketing cost and other cost and all when you are deciding the price. Certain assumption you will be doing in planning the operations, that also you should consider when you are deciding the price. That assumption, whether it will be crystallizing to reality or not, whether that assumption will be valid in reality or not, that you have to see. measuring the effect of changes in those assumptions on overall outcome. If that assumption changes in the reality, what will be the impact on the overall profit that the company is earning? Change in market demand, change in market price. This and all will be assuming before doing the production. Exchange rate fluctuation. What is the impact of the changes of these variables on sales, cost, and profit that we have to see? We have to do sensitivity analysis. Impact of changes in variables for initial outlay, initial investment, R&D cost also. If that increases, what will be the profitability of the company? That also we should make a special analysis. The next thing is pricing to in special circumstances. First thing is in recession period, we can set the price below the total cost. But the minimum cost we should recover is marginal cost. We can do this for a limited period. Minimum is marginal cost. You can keep it below the total cost. Advantage: you can avoid the layoff of employees so that you need not try to re-employ them after the recession. You can avoid the plant and machinery damage to non-usage. You can take advantage of improved business conditions later. Later when the market improves, you can set the price higher. You will be still in the market. Competitors will drop out during the recession so that after the recession you will have a clean market. You should not accept long-term orders for 5 years, 10 years and all. During this recession period, low price. The next strategy is pricing below the marginal cost. You can keep the price below the marginal cost also. When you have perishable raw material, large inventory is accumulated and you cannot store it for longer, market penetration you want to do, and then you want to boost the sales of other high margin products which you are selling. In these cases, you can keep the price below the marginal cost, but only for a limited period. The next thing is predatory pricing. Same thing we saw earlier, pricing at a below full cost to drive the competitors out of the market. Now, this is called as abuse of dominance under the Competition Act 2002, section number 4. You can refer to that section for a detailed explanation. The next thing is ethical and non-financial considerations. Ethical consideration meaning that you have to go beyond the law. You have to see what is right and what is wrong. You should not just follow the law. Beyond the law also, you have to see what is good for the company, good for the society, that you have to see. If you are not doing that, you will not be respected in the market. Example, during pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, ventilators price and all, they artificially increased it. That is an unethical pricing that you should not do. Then what are the ethical pricing issues? First thing is price fixing. Cartelization or collusion also we can call it. Group of people on the same side of market, they will be fixing a price. For example, all the sellers in the market, they came together and then they fixed a minimum price which is very high than the existing price. So that will be a group or cartelization which will affect the people. And then we have two types of price fixing here. One is horizontal price fixing, which is totally banned, and then vertical price fixing, which will be allowed in some cases. Horizontal price fixing meaning that in a supply chain we will have producer, and then we will have the distributor. After that, we will have the wholesaler. After that, we will have the retailer. After that, the product will reach the customer. And then we will have another value chain also. This is our supply chain. We will have a competitor supply chain also. He will be also having a distributor. He will also be having a wholesaler. He will also be having a retailer. He will also be having a customer. These are the two supply chains which are running in parallel. The horizontal price fixing meaning that two producers together, you made a plan and then you fixed the price. Now, only you two people are there in the market, so that the customer has to buy from any one of you. If you fix the price together at a high level, this is hurting the consumer. So it is totally banned. But when you are doing vertical price fixing, when you are the distributor, you can do price fixing with the producer. This will not affect the customer. It will just give the things at a low price to your company. So this is allowed in some cases. Just allowed in some cases. They have not given this much in detail in the study material. Just this you can understand. The next thing is price skimming. Same we already saw. Charging a very high price in the initial years also, it may not be acceptable in some cases. Next thing is bid rigging. We saw bid-based pricing. In that bid-based pricing, if you influence the person who is hearing all the bids, you can get a favoritism and you can get unfair advantage. That also is wrong. When you are doing price discrimination, anti-favoritism, same goods, same specification, but you are selling at different prices to different customer. That also you should not do in an extreme manner. Some cases it is allowed, you can do it in a mild manner, but when you are doing it for hurting the customer, it is a wrong thing. Or hurting the other competitor also, it is a wrong thing. You can keep super pricing for article with high perceived value. You have the ability, you have the capability. If the customer thinks that the product is of very, very high quality, you can keep an ultra premium price, but you can keep the real capability, but it is wrong. It is ethically wrong. The next thing is non-financial consideration. You have to also consider the brand image, stage of product life cycle, intensity of competition, bargaining power of buyers, government regulation, social factor, etc. when you are deciding the price. Next thing is pricing strategies. You can use cost to price pricing, market skimming, penetration pricing, volume discounting, relevant cost, price discrimination, product line, complementary product. Everything one or the other we saw in the earlier chapters, or in this chapter itself we saw many of these things. Now the next thing is price adjustment strategies. In this first thing we are going to see is geographical pricing. An important factor is distance. How much is the distance between the customer and the supplier? This will be dividing the freight expense. This is an important factor, and we will set the price based on location and countries. If we are sending at a very distant place, it will have a very high freight expense. We will consider that in the cost, and it will affect the pricing. In that we have four things. One is the compensation deals. When you are selling the product, you will get a percentage of payment in cash, and then remaining you will get in products. You will get the incoming products which will be adjusted towards the price of the product which you are selling. And then buyback arrangement. You will be selling branded machinery to another country in this situation, and then part payment you will be accepting in the product using the finished goods produced using that machinery. For example, you are exporting coffee machinery, you will receive part payment using coffee beans manufactured using that machinery. That they will give it to you. The next thing is barter. You will directly exchange the goods or services. Offset meaning that the seller will get full payment in cash, but there is an agreement that the seller has to invest some money in the buyer country. This and all will be applicable when you are doing abroad sales. That's all about the geographical pricing. Now the next thing is discounted pricing. Discounted pricing, first thing is distributed discount. You can give trade discount to wholesaler, retailer like the bulk purchasers. This will reduce the net price. And then quantity discount. When you are purchasing in bulk, you will be given discount. This is not applicable for a textile drug like that. Heterogeneous products. This is applicable only for products which you can measure in terms of truckload and all. This is useful for marketing of material. You can do good marketing by giving this quantity discount, volume rebate. Next thing is cash discount. You will get cash discount if you make the payment quickly. So you will be paying high price for credit purchases. This you can take it as on account as interest cost also you can take it. The next thing is seasonal discount. Seasonal discount means during the off season there will not be any customer for buying our product. So we will give the product at a discounted price. Then allowance. We will be giving extra payment to gain reseller participation. Persons who are buying it, they will be exchanging it and then buying another product. For that exchange, we will set some price. For example, if you are buying a product 10,000 rupees and then you are trying to exchange it after using it for some period. When you want to buy another product which is for 20,000, you can give this existing product. They will be taking it for a price of 6,000 and then remaining 14,000 you have to pay in cash. This is the worth of the existing product which you exchanged. This is the price you are paying for the new product. The total selling price for that you paid for the new product is 20,000 rupees. That is the meaning of allowance, trade in allowance. Next thing is promotional pricing. You are using this kind of pricing to attract the buyers. Longer payment terms. You can keep very favorable credit terms to the customer. You can keep special event pricing. In special season, you can give special prices. Loss leader pricing. You can reduce the price of products on well-known brands, and then using that you can make additional sales of other products, which will be giving high margin. Cash rebate. You can give cash discount also. Warranty and discount. You can give free services, warranty, discount, everything you can give. Psychological discounting. Same thing we saw already. We are increasing the price artificially. The actual price would be 10,000. He will artificially increase it to 10,000, and then he will cut it and put 10,000. Essentially, he's giving the same price, but it is just a psychological trick. The next thing is price discrimination. You will be charging different prices as per customer, product, place, time. Like that, you will be charging different prices. This, when it is possible, is that the market you can separate it into different segments and you can charge different prices. The customer will not buy from you at a lower price and then he will sell it at a higher price. He will not do arbitrage and all. And then competitors should not reduce the prices. That also one more main factor. If you increase the price for price discrimination and then the other competitor he is reducing the price, then everyone will switch to the competitor. And then time differential is another factor. If you want to book a travel ticket for airlines near the travel date, it will be costly. But when you are booking it in advance, you will get a low price. That is the time differential in price discrimination. Based on time, you are discriminating the price. The next thing is you will be doing segmentation of market here. You will divide the market into 3 segments, and in one segment you will keep low price, medium price, and high price. This is the meaning of price discrimination in practical world. The next thing is product mix pricing. When you are selling multiple products, you have to see which is the set of price you have to keep for each and every product to achieve the maximum price profit as a whole. For that, you can use product line pricing. You can keep multiple product lines and price steps also you can keep. For buying first 2 products, this is the price. When you are purchasing 3 products, this is the price. Like that, you can keep price steps. Optional feature pricing. You can increase the price of the optional product, and then you can give the main product at a low price. Optional product along with the main product, you can give it. Next thing is captive product pricing. You have to give low price on a core product, and then you will earn the profit on the ancillary product by selling them. That is the captive product pricing. And then byproduct pricing. In a production process, you will get main products and then byproducts. You will keep a lower price on the main product. You will earn profit by selling the byproduct. Two-part pricing. You will usually use it in the service firm. We already saw it. What is two-part pricing in divisional transfer pricing? It will be 2 components. One is fixed part and then variable part. Fixed part you have to pay. Variable part you have to pay based on the usage. Next thing is product bundling pricing. Pure bundling. You will be selling the products only in a bundle. Combination only you will sell. Mixed bundling. You will sell individually also. You will sell in bundle also. When you are buying bundle, you will get it at low price. When you are purchasing individually, you will get it at a high price. The next concept is Kano's performance attributes. Here we have a person called Kano. He found out that price is a function of features and perceived value. What is the feature of the product? What is the value of the product according to the customer mindset? These 2 are the things which will be deciding the price. Kano's model will be used to identify those features. These features we can identify using the Kano's model. Kano's model of product development and customer satisfaction. That is the full name. So in this Kano, he divides the features of a product into 6 types. Type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In this, 3 types are good for the company. This should be included by the company. This they should try to promote. These 3 are the bad qualities. They should try to remove it from the product. It will be bad for the customer and he will not buy it. So these are good qualities and then these are bad qualities. Now we have to see what are the qualities one by one. First thing is threshold attributes. Must be qualities you can call it. When you are selling a product, these are the minimum qualities that the product should have. This, when you are satisfying it, the customer will not think that much of a big deal because it is a basic quality. When you are solving it, they will not give that much high satisfaction. They will not give that much extra satisfaction at all. No extra satisfaction will be there. But when you are not satisfying this basic quality itself, then it will create a hate for the customer. Customer will hate your brand. It will cause dissatisfaction for the customer. Customer will consider this as basic qualities. For example, touchscreen for smartphone is very, very important. It is a basic quality. Since the company is giving touchscreen, you will not get extra satisfaction at all. The next thing is performance attribute. These are called as one-dimensional qualities. These are the qualities which will give more satisfaction to the customer if you invest more money in it. If you invest more, you will get more customer satisfaction. There will be a linear relationship between amount of money invested and satisfaction it provides. When you invest 10,000, it will give a satisfaction of 10 points. You can assume it. When you invest 20,000, it will give a satisfaction of 20 points. Like that, you can keep it. It will affect the fully aware customers. Customers who are having a lot of information, they know everything about the market. They will be purchasing only based on the attributes of performance only. Example, battery life. If you invest more and give a good battery life, the customer will like it. If you do not give good battery life, if you do not invest that much in battery life, the customer satisfaction will reduce. If you invest more satisfaction will be there. And one more thing about performance attribute is that here we are seeing the point of fully aware customers. This performance attribute will give customer satisfaction only if you invest amount in it. More investment, more customer satisfaction. The fully aware customer will purchase the product only based on the performance attribute. If it is giving performance attribute, giving customer satisfaction, they will buy it. They will also take the decision based on the performance attribute for the willingness to pay. If there are more performance attribute, customer will be willing to pay more money. This is an important point. Customer will be willing to pay money only if you have performance attribute. Willingness to pay is an important factor for performance attribute. The next thing is excitement or delight attributes. Customer will be very happy and will be attracted when these qualities are there in the product. So these are the qualities that will attract the customer. This when satisfied, when you are giving this to the customer, this will give extra satisfaction to the customer. Customer will be very happy. But when you are not meeting this will not cause any anger for the customer. He will not be angry because you are not giving extra excitement attribute. These are the extra things which you are giving to the customer. If you give it, it is well and good. If you don't give it, customer will not ask and all. It is not usually expected. There will be a wow factor. If you give this feature, the customer will be very attracted. He will be very happy. It will give a wow factor. This will give you high return on investment. These are unspoken features which the customer will not expect usually. But when you are giving it to him, he will be very happy. Example, seat upgrade in a flight. This and all will increase the happiness of the customer. But when you are not giving it also, the customer will not raise that much of a complaint and all. Now, when you see as a summary, threshold attributes are the minimum quality that should be there. Example, touch screen. Performance attributes, example, battery life will be giving more satisfaction if you invest more money. In excitement attribute, these are extra things which you are giving to the customer. If you give extra, he will be happy. If you don't give extra, he will not raise complaint and all. The next thing is we are going to see the bad quality which should not be there in the product. First thing is indifferent quality. These are the quality which is not good, not bad. It cannot be placed in positive also, negative also. It will have no effect on the customer satisfaction. More point to be noted, no effect on customer satisfaction. Example, emojis look and availability. In a mobile, how much emojis are there, whether they are in a wide variety or not. That and all the customer will not care. It will not, if you have a large number of emojis, it will not give satisfaction to the customer. If you don't have emojis also, the customer will not get angry on you. So these are indifferent qualities. Why they are coming under bad thing is that since they are not good and not bad, it is a waste of cost for the company to make expenses into these qualities. So it should be eliminated. We should not keep this in a product. The next thing is reverse qualities. Reverse quality meaning that if you keep this quality, customer will get angry on you. If you don't keep this quality, the customer will not get angry on you. He will not give any extra satisfaction, but he will not have any hate on the company. If these annoying features are present, you can also call it as annoying features. If they are there, customer will have dissatisfaction. But when you are not having any annoying features, you will not get any extra satisfaction. It will not create any happiness and all. For example, pop-up message and all. When you are asking for approval when you are installing a new application, it will create a bad impression for the customer. It will cause dissatisfaction for the customer. But when you are not asking it, he will not be that much extra happy and all. He will just be in a normal mindset. Now, reverse qualities, if you include it, it will cause anger to the customer. If you do not include it, no extra satisfaction will be there from the customer. The next thing is questionable attribute. This is an ambiguous feature. We do not know whether it will cause a thing or not, cause satisfaction or cause dissatisfaction, that we do not know for certain. This will work in a fashion similar to reverse quality. This is a doubtful or questionable presence. Whether we have to keep it or not, that we don't know. We have to do experiment and do research to find out whether this is essential or not. This will what is the thing is that we don't know anything about this. So we are keeping it under the avoidable things. We have to include the threshold, performance, and excitement or delayed attributes. And then we have to remove the indifferent, reverse, and questionable attribute from the product. This is the chart that I have given in the study material. This you can see later. Now, the next thing is, therefore, a company should try to include threshold, performance, and excitement, and the company should try to avoid indifferent, reverse, and then questionable qualities. Now, the last concept which we have is about CVP analysis, cost, volume, profit analysis related to marginal costing. This we already saw a little bit in the practical sums video. Just a small theory part. Now we are going to see here. In traditional cost, volume, profit analysis, marginal costing, we will divide the cost based on two categories based on the variability. If it is changing as per the number of units produced, it will be marginal or variable cost. If it does not change as per the number of units produced, it will be fixed cost. Here the main basis is number of units produced. Now, when you are having activity-based cost volume profit analysis, marginal cost will be same. Cost that changes as per the number of units produced. But fixed cost we will divide into another two categories. We will create two categories called analyzed fixed cost. Another thing, unanalyzed fixed cost, remaining to be analyzed. In analyzed fixed cost, this will not change based on the number of units, but it will change based on the cost driver. For example, setup cost, it will not change as per the output produced. It will change as per the number of setups made. Engineering hour cost, it will be decided based on the number of engineering hours usage. Purchase order cost, it will be decided based on the number of purchase orders. It will be changing as per activity, but not as per the output. Now here you have more information about these costs. So you can try to reduce the number of setup, reduce the engineering hours, reduce the purchase order number. By doing that, you can reduce the total cost of setup cost, engineering hours, and purchase order. The next thing is unanalyzed fixed cost. These are remaining to be analyzed. That is the meaning of the costs which are remaining to be analyzed. Costs which are identified by analysis or remaining to be analyzed. These are the unanalyzed fixed cost. That's all about the classification of fixed cost as per activity-based cost volume profit analysis. Now here I have given an example relating to the cost of setups, why the setup cost should be low, and how we can reduce the setup cost. And for that, what we have to do, we have to increase the batch size. This logic and all I have already explained using an example in chapter number 4. So you can refer this. So that's all about all the theory in this chapter. Now we can see the questions in this chapter related to theory. Now, the test knowledge MCQs, here we can see that. Here we have something like a match the following. Here they are asking what is the meaning, we have to suggest the correct code. Skimming is related to high price. We have to set a high price in the beginning and then we will reduce it gradually. Penetration pricing, setting a low price for a new product during the initial offering. And then psychological pricing, ending the price with 99. These two, when you match this and you will get the option, you will select the option as answer C. Now, the next thing is here, one thing you have to see is customary pricing. This is a word we did not see during the chapter. Here they have given that customary pricing is value-based perception-oriented pricing that we saw now, that we now only saw in this question. Now, the next MCQ is that in a product mix decision, what is the most important factor to consider in order to try and maximize profit? How to maximize profit? They are asking. Contribution per unit of a scarce resource used to make the product. This we already know. If you watched the practical sums video, we would have learned about throughput contribution and all, throughput maximization model, or else the throughput accounting ratio we would have discussed. There we will be seeing the bottleneck resource, scarce resource. We will be finding out the contribution per unit. Or else in another time also, when we have a limiting factor, we will do this only. Now the next thing, here we have a gas limited company. It is preparing a product of liquid nitrogen. It will be creating the determining the price based on the competitor's price. Now what is the pricing method in gas, oil, fertilizer and all? We will be using the going rate pricing. Here when you do not remember the concept also, here if you see, they are depending on the competitor price. They are not doing value, they are not doing image, they are not doing psychology. Now the only thing remaining is going rate pricing. Now the next question they are saying is that here we have a retail chain, DM Mart. Competition is stiff and revolve around the price among the market players in retail chain segment. DM Mart adopted the practice of pricing some of its products below the cost with an intention to destroy the competitor. Such a pricing strategy is referred to as we are keeping the price below the cost to drive out the competitor, to destroy the competitor. So it will be called as predatory pricing. Here we will not take penetration pricing. You need to clearly see the difference between penetration pricing and predatory pricing. Predatory pricing means we are artificially keeping the price below the cost. And then why we are doing it? We are doing it to destroy the competitor, drive the competitor out of the market. Penetration pricing, we will be setting the price low. This is for new product. You are creating a new product and introducing it in the market for the first time. Now to attract the customer and penetrate the market, you are keeping the price low. That will be coming under penetration pricing. Here they are not introducing any new product at all, so it will be coming under predatory pricing. The next question is that Cafe Coffee Cup offers a feature of writing name of the customer on the takeaway glass down the logo. The size of the logo on the glass of the coffee is which type of attribute? The logo size will be there right in the coffee cup. The size of the logo is which type of attribute? The customer is not concerned about the size of the logo and all. He will not hate it. Four words will not be there. He will not be happy because of it. Delight will not be there. Performance will not be there because it is not increasing the proportionate. It's not giving proportionate increase in the customer demand, customer satisfaction based on the amount of investment. That is not being used here. It is the only thing remains indifferent. The customer is not concerned about it. He is reacting neither positive nor negative. So the next question is, COO of Modern Furniture Limited heard about Kano model. The company decided to use Kano model to enhance the customer satisfaction, but not sure about which of the attribute will be focused. Mainly in order to enhance the customer's willingness to pay. When you are seeing about the customer's willingness to pay, this will be about the performance attribute. The customer's willingness to pay will be depending on the performance attribute. If you have more performance attribute, you are investing in it, the customer will be willing to pay. That's all about the questions in this chapter. Now we have completed all the theory questions and the theory concepts also. Thank you for watching this video. And one small reminder, please subscribe to this channel if you found this content useful, so that it will be recommended to other people also. And then please share this to your friends and like this video. Thank you.